What do you see? Okay. Will you holler when you do? Great. Oh, you do see me. Oh, that's good to know. That's very good to know. There. And I'd like to welcome you to Tune Into Your Body. This is a weekly webinar that discusses the 5 priorities of healthier everyday people. The first week we did an intro. Philosophically, what does it mean to have faith in your body? Trust your intuitive internal guide. The overall perspective of what drains you and what feeds you in the big picture. Week 2, we talked about nourish. We discussed food and how you eat and what you eat. Again, the concept of internal guidance as opposed to external rules. We also in that webinar talked about levels of hydration, what you drink, how you drink, and how you know if you're fully hydrated, if all of your cells have the hydration that they need to function optimally. And we also talked about supplementation in webinar 2 in the Nourish section. Today, we are on Move. Out of the 5 principles of healthier everyday people, we have Nourish, Move, Choose, Connect, and Balance. And today we're on Move. So we're going to talk about how your body feels in movement. So for those of you who just joined, welcome. This is Tune Into Your Body, the webinar with me, Dr. Wendy Lee White. And we are talking about the 5 principles or priorities of healthier everyday people. Real people like you and like me. It does not have to be hard to live well. And this is hopefully helping to plant the seed in your brain that that's possible and help you, encourage you to make some lifestyle changes that will make a difference. So we're on Move today, the idea of movement. Notice I don't use the word exercise. Exercise for me has a negative feeling. It has a gym, a force, someone screaming in my face, the no pain, no gain. All of those negative feelings are what I think of and what like my body experiences when I talk about exercise. When I talk about movement, that to me has more of that nourish feel like food does rather than talking about eating. I like talking about nourishing. So the movement has more of a yummy, comforting sensation. What I like to suggest is that movement is for the point of really appreciating how good being in our body can be. Many of us in this culture are so much in our heads. Do you find that when someone says, "Oh, how's your knee feeling today?" you have to pause and kind of work your way down to finding awareness of your knee? Many of us in our culture, that would be the case. What I'm suggesting is we on a regular basis get out of our heads, get into our bodies so that we can feel truly from the inside how we are doing. I'm going to pause for a moment. My dad tries to tune in through Facebook, and I just want to see if that's working. Oh, it doesn't look like it is. I'm so sorry, Dad. I've been trying last week and this week to get Facebook to get Zoom to connect to Facebook, and I don't think it's working yet again. That makes me very sad. So the concept of movement. When you feel, one moment, I'm sorry. Share on a page you manage. Let's try that and see how that works. You know, he lives in Massachusetts and I'm in Oregon, so the only way that he can hear me is through Facebook. I don't want to have him mess with Zoom. Let's try that. So the idea of movement, feeling luxurious, feeling like you, sorry, there we go. Okay, so the idea of movement, feeling luxurious, feeling like you are in your body, connected to your body with an abundance of gratitude for how your body can move and how it feels. It might still not be working, but we can at least tell my dad that I tried. So moving and understanding how you feel and feeling grateful for the fact that you have this power, this energy, this coordination, this strength. So that is kind of my general approach to movement. I don't believe in pushing as hard as you can at all times. I don't believe in being so sore the next day that you can't move or that you're in more than mild discomfort. If you're in anything medium, moderate, severe discomfort or pain, in my mind, that was disrespectful to your body. I always want us to respect our bodies. Our bodies are brilliant. And when we make choices that align with that brilliance, we really can see the results. So how can we all move? First and foremost, I don't want anyone to get injured. Often when we begin a movement protocol, especially now when we're all stuck at home, if we begin a movement protocol and we find that we're doing online videos or recordings or working with trainers that don't know our bodies, our individualized bodies, our likelihood of getting injured is very high. So I appreciate physical therapists, personal trainers who really tailor their programs to the individual body and who have philosophies that are more similar about mine rather than push, 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 go, 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 increase your likelihood of injury. I really do like the tailored approach. For those of you in the Portland area, I love Root and Branch Integrative Fitness. There's a physical therapist and a personal trainer who work together hand in hand, and they are doing little mini sessions right now, as well as a full evaluation and online Zoom meetings and all of that to keep a body supported. That's how I've been moving since this world came to a very small world under the roof of my house, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. So when you're beginning to move, where do you start? Many people feel as though they have to go hard and frequently, and like that all or nothing mentality that tends to be super common within our culture. And I'd like to offer another option, another suggestion, that for me, movement should be enjoyable. So many of my patients begin hula hooping in their living room, and they sit in front of the TV and they hula hoop and they go both ways. So they're using all sides of their bodies, and it's funny. They laugh, they get the hang of it. They increase their coordination, they increase their circulation. And it's something that doesn't have to be dreaded. That's super important. If you dread it, the mental, emotional impact of that may just offset negatively the physical benefits of moving. So find something that's enjoyable that doesn't have to be torturous. Eventually, I do believe that we as creatures, as human animals, should do some sort of weight building and muscle building. But that isn't where you go from 0 to full throttle right away. Moving, taking dogs for walks, taking yourself for a walk, going out in the woods, hula hooping in your living room as you're watching TV. I'm often saying to my dad, and Dad, I hope you're watching. I tried very hard to get this streaming live through Facebook as well as Zoom. I'm often telling my dad, don't just sit in your chair when you're watching a hockey game or a ball game. Stand there and march in place. You may feel silly, put your arms up and down. Just move. So starting slow, starting at whatever level feels good for you, feels empowering and gets you in your body and out of your head. Why? Why should we move? First of all, think about the tiniest cell in the tip of your pinky or in your middle toe or in your behind. Think of those cells that aren't in the core of your body, that aren't near big muscle groups, that don't tend to get circulation on a regular basis. Why they need circulation is that circulation not only brings oxygen in, but also brings nutrition in. So the more perfused, which is just the fancy medical word for saying circulated, the more perfused a cell is, the more likely it's going to have the oxygen and the nutrition that it needs to fully carry out its functions and to be its healthiest. So movement allows your whole body, even the cells in your pinky and your toe and the areas that don't tend to get large muscle activity like your butt or your underarms, for example, those areas need that circulation for oxygen and nutrition. Another justification for just plain old movement, stretching, walking in place, swinging your arms, plain old movement helps your lymphatics to flow. So what are your lymphatics? Your lymphatics are the part of your circulatory system that drains waste out of your blood vessels into a container that goes to your liver to be detoxified and eliminated. Within that lymph flow is mucus, spent white blood cells, dead cells that have died of your own that need to be eliminated and gotten rid of. It's all the stuff that you don't want hanging out in your body. Remember the last time you had a head cold? People call them swollen glands when the lymph nodes in your neck swell in your cervical chain. That indicates that your body is creating a lot of waste, a lot of immune cells, a lot of mucus, a lot of dead cells that need to be eliminated. So sometimes your lymph nodes get full and they get backed up a little bit. That's lymph. Lymph is draining always towards your heart. And that draining helps us to get rid of crud. So by moving, every time that you move your body, you can help that lymphatic flow so that all of that crud gets towards that area of your heart where it then gets collected, goes down to your liver, and eliminated out the body. Movement helps with that. Why else would you want to move? For those of you who have heard me talk before, hello in New York, Connecticut, only because I'm recognizing some of your names. I'm sure that there are other people there that I don't know from what state you come. Oregon, of course. If you are in an area of the country that now has good weather, this is a perfect chance to go out and walk and take in nature and flush your lymphatics, help your body get rid of what it needs to, as well as make sure that all cells of your body have oxygen and nutrition. Right there, I'm just going to pause. For those of you who have joined us since I welcomed everyone, welcome. This is Tune Into Your Body. I'm Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. And this is the weekly webinar that I offer, registered through Zoom, so that you can explore the 5 priorities or principles of healthier everyday people. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's accessible to all. You don't have to have financial resources or special equipment for anything that I discuss in these 6 sessions. The first one was an intro and philosophical discussion. Second was Nourish, which talked about food, hydration, and supplementation. Today we are on Move. Then we will talk about Connect and Choices and Balance. So back to movement. Oh, also I'd like to say, please do, if you're watching through Zoom, please use the chat function if you have any questions, or if you are interested in suggesting another topic for when we get through the 5 habits of healthier everyday people. So let's talk about what type of movement is good for you. I do not believe that high intensity exercise is meant for everyone. I also don't think that low intensity exercise is going to fulfill the need of everyone. I do believe there's a correlation between blood group and the type of exercise that works for your particular body. Now, I discussed a little bit about blood group philosophy when we talked about food. We'll talk a little bit more here when we're talking about movement. How blood group philosophy goes is that people are blood group O, A, B, or AB. O's and A's are the ends of the spectrum. B's and AB's are in the middle. So let's start with a B. Movement for a B. B's are very middle of the road in food, in movement, in nervous system. So B's like good general movement. Cycling, hiking, they can have periods of high intensity, periods of low, more nervous system support. And really they're that, I say omnivores, the B's are omnivores within their diet, and they're really in that middle of the road for movement as well. O's on one end of the spectrum tend to be really physical, muscular creatures. And so for them, they can do high intensity, long duration. They can have a physical labor job during the day and still feel like they want to go dancing at night. However, with an O who's out of balance, when they feel sluggish, either anxious or depressed, the best way to change their mood is to have them move their body. Often they have a lot of energy that gets pent up, and if they don't physically move their body, that energy is stuck, affecting their mental emotional state. So that's O's, super physical creatures. They build muscle super easily, and they just, when in balance, can move 24/7. Not really, because they have to sleep 6 hours or so a night. But really, those are the physical muscular people. On the other end of the spectrum are blood group A's. Blood group A's tend to be thinner, more wiry, smaller framed people. I'm an AB, which is in the middle of A's and B's and really can be more A-like or more B-like, so it depends on the individual. How many times are you going to hear me say that? So blood group A's, for their exercise, they tend to have nervous systems that are incredibly ramped up. We are high intensity, sympathetic nervous system. We're vigilant. We make lists. We check things off lists. And so our exercise, this is a very important point. Our exercise needs to be supportive of our nervous system. For many blood group A people, when they over-exercise, their body sees it as a stress, a physical stress, and therefore they feel worse and their inflammation is more when they over-exercise. Now, the term over-exercise is all relative, right? Can an O over-exercise? If they're in balance, it'd be really hard for an O to over-exercise. An A might do half as much the amount of physical work as an O, and yet that to them is a stressor. How you know that your movement is a stressor for you is if you need a nap afterwards, if it takes you days to a week to recover from a workout, That workout was too much and your body saw it as a physical stress. So O's, very muscular creatures, they can do high intensity, heavy weights, and they thrive with that. A's can often be aggravated and their body can see excess exercise or excess movement as a physical stressor, and it actually makes them overall less healthy. Now, how interesting is that? What do you think the reaction of my patient might be if they come to me and they're a long distance runner and yet they're a blood group A and they have an assortment of complaints? What do you think their reaction is going to be when I suggest they run less or less intensely or in less duration? It goes against what our culture says, but for those patients who can trust in my knowledge and my experience, when they can give my recommendations a trial, which is all I ever ask for, is give this a try for 4 to 6 weeks and see how you feel. When they can do that, they often come back to me and say, oh yeah. How I see this play out often in blood group A's is with cardiovascular disease. So many people with high family history of cardiovascular disease, high stress, high strung, nervous system upregulated. And if they begin to have the precursors to cardiovascular disease risk, plaques in their arteries or inflammatory markers testing positive on lab work, what they tend to do in response is more exercise, more cardio, longer on the treadmill, harder on the treadmill, more. I do not believe that is the solution for a blood group A patient. I think it's just the opposite. Switch gears, start doing some weights, start doing some down-regulating Tai Chi, yoga, walking, hiking, swimming, things that aren't so revving up of the body. And I believe, and I have seen, that blood group A's feel better when they do that type of movement. So just to check in, this is Tune Into Your Body. I'm Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. And this webinar series, it's going to start with 6 weeks. This is week 3. We will continue past 6 weeks if those of you who are interested suggest further topics. For now, we're starting with an intro and the 5 principles of healthier everyday people. Nourish, move, connect, choose, and balance. For those of you who are joining in on Zoom, you are able to hear the recording if you are interested. And for those of you who are listening to the recording because you registered and weren't able to attend, thank you. For all of you, please do spread the word regarding this webinar. I'm here to serve. Now more than ever, it is so important for all of us to take individual ownership of our health, our futures, our strength, and make everyday lifestyle choices that strengthen us and make us more vital human beings. We are incredibly designed, and we know that if we make more choices that align with that design and less choices that irritate us, we will be in greater wellness. Now, philosophically, for those of you who know me, and for those of you who don't, I'm glad you're hearing this. We are not meant to be perfect. We are human beings. If we do good things more often than we do things that irritate us, we will feel well. But we are resilient creatures, and we have the ability to balance ourselves when we get out of balance, either due to external sources or internal choices. We get out of balance, we're resilient, and we're able to rebalance ourselves. Sometimes we get so far out of balance that we need some additional supports to then have our body be able to balance itself. The body does the healing, the body does the balancing. The supports are sometimes there if we just got too far out and we need a little bit of nudge or a little bit of guidance to get ourselves back to center. So please do post a question within your chat section of Zoom if you have any questions regarding movement. Here's one from Katie in Oregon, and she says, how do I know that I am doing the exercise that's meant for me? So Katie, I talked about that a little bit, and how you know is that when you're done, you feel better than before you worked out. Now, sometimes when we feel as though we had a harder workout than normal, we might feel that kind of pleasant fatigue in our bodies. So that's not what I'm talking about. That pleasant fatigue, that like, ooh, I had a nice movement and my body feels all tingly, like that's the good thing. It's when we need a nap, we get a headache, we notice that we have to sleep much more the nights after we work out than we do normally. Or we're incredibly sore for days after the workout. Our bodies require that rest time to really repair and heal and get stronger. So if we're not allowing it that recovery time, or if we're finding we're needing that longer recovery time, then we worked out too hard and we should back off. And really, we should be able to recover within a couple of days max. And that's not like, I'm so sore I can't walk up the stairs. It's a, oh yeah, my legs, I can feel that there's a little bit of fatigue. That's the recovery that I'm talking about. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I will end on one last note. And I'm going to try to share my screen here again. I want to point out to you an ebook that I just created. Here we go. And so if you go to drwendyleewhite.com, that is my website. If you go to drwendyleewhite.com/ebook, that's really not where I thought I was sending you, /kitchen healing. It's drwendyleewhite.com/kitchen healing. You get this page that says free ebook, My Kitchen Healing, 10 Healing Foods for Everyday Ailments. And so if you have any interest in there, please do go to that website and sign up, enter your first and last name and your email address and check off the little box that says you're not a robot and download your ebook, and that would be lovely. Okay. Please do share this with anyone you think needs to be reminded that they're incredible beings, that needs to be reminded that they have power to make choice in their life, and that getting healthier, getting more vital, getting less symptomatic does not have to be torturous. It can be incremental with each and every choice we make throughout our days and throughout our nights. I'm Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care. Bye.